What is up, everybody? I decided to make this video today because I was thinking about a video that I uploaded a few days ago about my friend who was a side chick and didn't know it. I had related in that video that she was asked to co-sign on a business loan for her ex-boyfriend, and I learned years ago through an older friend that co-signing is something that you should probably not do. What happened was that this woman who I was living with over 20 years ago, when I was a teenager, had co-signed on a car loan for one of her friends. And unfortunately, her friend lost her job and was unable to make her car payments. So the woman who co-signed for her was then responsible for picking up those payments. And at the time that she co-signed on a loan for her friend, she thought that she was just doing her friend a favor and that there would be no problems. But through no fault of her own, her friend ended up losing her job. So what a lot of people don't know when you co-sign on a loan is that whenever the main debtor on the loan defaults, then the co-signer becomes responsible for paying off that loan. And it can also affect the co-signer's credit worthiness, and it could also reflect negatively on that person's credit report. Another thing is that the creditor can go after the co-signer if they can't get any money from the original debtor on the loan. They can then go after the co-signer and sue that person to recoup their losses. And I also went through a similar experience as my friend who didn't know she was a side chick. Several years ago, I was dating this guy who owned a business, and he was driving an old beat-up truck. He also had very bad credit, where he had divorced his ex-wife and she left their credit messed up. I think he had a couple of foreclosures or repossessions on his credit report, so he wasn't very credit worthy. In other words, there weren't many banks who would be willing to extend him credit or give him a loan without a co-signer. So I noticed that in the beginning of our relationship, he had asked me about my credit. And I thought that was kind of odd. I had really good credit, almost like in the 700s range. And when he asked me that, it was kind of like a red flag. So I immediately told him, I tried to put it in a jokey way, but I immediately told him that I don't co-sign on loans for anybody because I was very protective of my credit. And I wanted to maintain a very high credit rating. So several months passed, and I noticed that periodically he would bring up the subject of how he could go so much further in his business if he had more equipment and a better truck. And he also hinted again about how he needed a co-signer on a loan. Now, he wouldn't come straight out and ask me to be a co-signer, but if you're bringing up that topic periodically, like if you're bringing it up more than once or twice, then obviously it's like a slick way of asking someone to do you a favor without really asking them. So maybe he was hoping that I would volunteer, but I never did volunteer because I look at it like this: if a person's credit is fucked up, it's messed up for a reason. It's a sign that they weren't responsible with their finances. So, if his credit is messed up, then that's his responsibility to get his credit back on track so that he won't need a cosigner. So, long story short, after he realized that I would never co-sign for him, I think that was one of the reasons why he basically ended the relationship, which is no loss to me. It's his loss. I'm not sure how credit works in other countries, but in the United States, even if you're a poor person, if you have good credit, then you're at an advantage. You have more opportunities available to you if you can demonstrate to a bank that you have a history of repaying your debts. So I would say don't ever put your credit at risk. Don't put your good name at risk. Always keep your credit in good standing and your name in good standing. Because if you don't have any money, that's all you have. So don't co-sign for people unless you're absolutely certain that that person can repay the debt. So that's all I want to say. Bye.